Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 530. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Monica Leonelle from Writer MBA. Monica, this might be the first time that I've recorded an episode with someone that doesn't exist because we tried to and it disappeared. And now you're back in real life. It's happening. I'm so excited.
Yes. We had a little bit of technical difficulties the first time, but it's pretty exciting to be on the show for, I think it's the fourth time, and
The fourth time.
it's a very fun show to be on. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm trying to think, like, in the litany of who's been on the show the most times, I would guess you're either in third or fourth place, but we'll have to see.
For sure.
We'll do the research at some point. But yeah, I mean, since you were last on in episode 300 something, a lot has changed about what you do for the author world. You have run events. You have done many Kickstarters. You have helped a lot of people. I mean, you and I used to, because we both lived in the Midwest. When I lived in the Midwest, we both lived there. We would get together every so often. What do you think changed the most for you that perpetuated you and obviously your partner in crime, Russell Nolte, making these big swings in the self-publishing industry?
Yeah, I don't know what changed. I mean, I think part of what changed is that we partnered together, which was kind of an accident. But for some reason, the partnership just works. We both actually probably wanted business partners for years, and it just wasn't working. And so we were both kind of solo chipping away at things. But I think what works about our partnership is that we do things very differently, but we ultimately have the same mission. And we've had it for so long, and we've both been working on it for so long. And our mission was really it's really to help authors make more money. And so we've approached it from, which I know is also your mission in so many ways. And we've just helped authors, and, we keep finding new angles. And I say that, but it's like the angles keep presenting themselves in many ways too. So, it started with Kickstarter. I mean, we have both been doing it for years beforehand, but then it started with Kickstarter, and Russell had a lot of knowledge about Kickstarter. I had a network of people who wanted to learn about Kickstarter. And so combining that, and then it kind of spiraled into other aspects of direct sales, and Wide was in there already. Like I was already Wide and already talking about Wide for many years. And so, and I think actually kind of our next foray is probably mindset. And so if you are following Russell, he's been working with Lisa Vino, who does a mindset course as well. He has a podcast with her. I'm also doing like mindset stuff just kind of on my own. And so I think that's kind of an area that we're going to. So,
which is awesome. I one of my big things that I put into the written word media survey for 2024 is that, we are going to have to make this the year of mindset. We are going to have to make this the year of taking care of ourselves. And I'm really glad that, y'all are proving me right. No, I'm glad that
that's awesome.
I'm glad that there's such a great focus. And Lee was on the show just a month or so ago, and so I'm glad that they're getting the chance to work together, that you're working on this mindset stuff. As you're starting to dive into the mindset, before we dive into the show here, what is there anything surprising as you're thinking more about author mindset that you're like, oh, I didn't know authors struggled with this, or, oh, I didn't know that, this thing I'm dealing with is also what every author is dealing with?
Yeah. I mean, I think that mindset is, we talk about it like it's a category almost. And it is a category, but it's the same as like marketing, right? Like depending on what level you're at and what your goals are, that's maybe what your mindset, or that's maybe like what you need to focus on. So like the things that an author maybe starting out needs to focus on are different from like the things that an author who is trying to go from like $0 to $1,000 a month needs to focus on, and then different from the author who's going from like 1,000 to like $8,333 a month. So basically like 10K a year, or moving to the 5-figure range. And so it's like, I think there's lots of different categories of mindset. And like one thing I'm seeing that is a little surprising is authors who have been really strong on retailers, I think are starting to see retailers drop, specifically Amazon. It's maybe getting less effective, I'm not sure. But they're starting to see revenue drop there, and they're like not necessarily wanting to step into direct sales, which is kind of understandable, or they're not wanting to like change their tactics, like you do Amazon ads. Like they're not wanting to maybe shift things that they've done in the past, and like kind of let go of some of the marketing that maybe isn't working as well anymore. Or they don't want to go to like TikTok or wherever. And so I think there's some of that where there's just a lot of change in the marketplace, and some people are embracing that change and seeing kind of rapid gains from it, maybe depending on their level. And then some people, kind of like slowly transitioning, I guess I would say. Not that they're not embracing change, because like we're all going to embrace change, right? We don't have a choice, but maybe like they need a slower transition than what the industry looks like it's changing over to.
I mean, it's
so I just think, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple things come to mind. It is the title of a book, but also a good phrase to remember: what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's, I think, what you're seeing definitely with these authors needing to change. And then I think just the second thing is it's really hard to make a change. It's like it roots in you, and it's like I'm thinking of the Ents from Lord of the Rings, these old, slow moving tree creatures. That's what we become as we get so deeply rooted into the ways we're doing things. But you're absolutely right. Sometimes a pivot is needed, especially if the numbers dictate it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, definitely. And it's hard. It's all hard. But I mean, it's like kind of like at any level, you need mindset.
Yeah. No, great points. Great points. Well, you and Russell do so many things. Definitely, folks, go to writermba.com to see where at least most of them are. You'll probably get to most of them from there. But definitely go check that out. For me, I've got a fun webinar I'm doing on Thursday called the Personalized Self-Publishing Journey. We're talking about strengths. We're talking about Enneagram. We're talking about just your personal circumstances and how, hey, surprisingly, the same self-publishing advice doesn't apply to all people. And knowing yourself a little bit better helps you to figure out which advice to take. So very mindset-y, which is not surprising at all, Monica, that it's my lowest registered webinar for the quarter, because people don't think they need mindset when it actually is the first thing that they need.
100%. I tell Russell this all the time. I'm like, you can't sell a mindset course because people will not buy it. I've tried. Yeah,
exactly. But I can't help myself. I gotta go out there and teach this because I'm really excited about it. So
yes.
But yeah. So that's what's going on with me. Monica, are you ready for the top story of the week?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. So the top story is, can you take it all? ? Quote, you cannot do everything you'll be told you should do, says Lisa Norman for Writers in the Storm. Like any business owner, you need to start with a plan and think strategically about what is best for your author career. Start with your goals, says Norman. What do you want to accomplish? What makes you happy, keeps you sane, and gives you joy? And understand that what's best for you might not be best for others, particularly for those giving well-meaning advice. As complicated as it sounds, technology is easy. Authors can write in almost any program and on almost any computer. It's the high-level questions that will guide your big decisions. Do you want to make a full-time living with your books? Are you a fast writer? Are you comfortable with rapid release? How much time do you have to write and market? How much money do you have to spend on getting started? With these and other questions answered, you can look at advice in a different light. Is this good for your goal? Is it worth the cost in time, money, and energy to make the change? Will it help you succeed? Will it add stress? Quote, there are some good things that also stifle people's creativity, says the author. You know your situation and your creative spirit better than anyone else. Choose your path. Choose what gets your attention. Monica, it's funny that we talked about kind of personalized mindset instruction right before this one. What came to mind looking at this article here?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's interesting. I think that focus like the thing. I guess the thing that came to mind for me, it's probably more of my own personal thing. I'm number one, strategic. So
Yep,
just the whole thing about like, yeah, I think a lot of writers are, and I think the whole thing about trying to like strategize your next big thing. Right now, I'm trying to like not strategize my next big thing, and kind of only because I think I personally go too far with that, and I think to some extent, like I'm reading the book. I think it's called 4,000. You only have 4,000 weeks, or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
And I forget the author's name, and like, but it's like probably the most interesting productivity book I've ever read, because he talks about how you are gonna die. Like it's just this book about like getting your to-do list done is futile, and like all this stuff, and you can't actually predict your life, and you can't predict your career. And so it's been really helpful to me to deprogram kind of my control around trying to like come up with the perfect next step. So I think there is you definitely want to do what's best for you. You want to, but I think some of that is like tapping into your intuition around like, what is that next step? Maybe for me, like not thinking like 12 steps ahead of like, here's the next 12 things I'm doing. Here's like just the next one.
Yeah. No, I think for us high strategics, it can be really hard because we are already doing some of this. But I think strategic, depending on your other strengths, can also manifest as, oh, I can morph this idea I just heard as a component, as one of the prongs of this strategy. Like I'm high positivity, Clifton strength, so I think I can do everything. I'm high competition, so I want to, do things really, really well and better than anybody. So I hear an idea, and sometimes I will say, yes, this idea must be a part of my strategy now. But what I love that Lisa Norman says here is just that, asks these important questions. Will this help your sanity? Will this bring you joy? And I think strategic brain, especially with some of the other strengths that can be coupled with it, thinks a little bit more about the money and the potential success before it thinks about the sanity and the joy.
Absolutely. I definitely, and I think it can put you in a space of, it can almost like lead you astray to building a life that maybe you don't want, or like a business that you don't want to. But yeah, I mean, I think these questions are all amazing.
Yeah.
Figuring out, like really like knowing anything about yourself, like and knowing more about yourself always is going to help you make better decisions, and sort through what's right for you and what's not.
Yeah, which is why I'm having a webinar on it.
Yay, sign up.
Yeah, sign up. They won't. It's okay. I get it. I get it. No, I know some people have signed up. But Monica, hot potato wisdom question for you. What advice did you follow, or what strategy did you decide you needed to go forward on that you think actually held back your author career?
I think for me it was, and it's still, can still be this to this day, is like stay in your lane.
Mm,
A lot of people, at least like on the author side, maybe even on the fiction side, though, I'm trying to be really honest about this all the time, is like,
yeah.
I haven't put a lot of time into my fiction lately, but at least on the author side, it does feel like people kind of, they know you as one thing and they want you
Mm,
to keep being that thing or keep doing that thing. And I've been really quick to hop around and evolve, only because publishing is my passion. Like just publishing as a whole is my passion, and
yeah.
an even bigger, a broader sense, like just business as a whole is my passion. So it doesn't feel like hopping around to me, but um, sometimes people want you to stay in one spot and keep going deeper with them on that. But really expanding my lane very quickly
Yeah.
and evolving quickly and letting like kind of the chips fall has
Yeah.
been great for my career.
It makes me think about a fiction author has an email list. They say, Brian, I'm getting all these emails to keep writing this series, even though it's not selling that well. And I ask them, how many emails are you actually getting? Are you getting 3? And if you're getting 3, if those 3 people buy, will that be worth the 3 months or 6 months you put into writing this next book? And you have to think about that sort of stuff. Sometimes even readers can be forcing you to stay in a lane that doesn't make sense. If you might need to pivot and change genre or change pen name, or, hop around, as kind of you put it, you might need to, if you, going back to Lisa Norman, if it fits with your goals better.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think like there, and I think it's good advice to stay in your lane, but I don't know.
It depends
I think yeah,
situationally.
it's so
Situationally
situational.
good advice. Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
Brian, what's a piece of advice you wish you'd taken sooner?
So we were talking about this a little bit off the air, Monica and I, talking about kind of looking at big business things like cash flow. And I think the advice I wish I'd taken sooner was to just really get into the numbers and get a good understanding of them. I think there is occasionally this false equivalency that we can spend on ads, spend on virtual assistants, spend on other things, and the more we spend, the more we grow. But sometimes that's not the case. As I've seen in my own business, sometimes I've had to, par back a little bit. I've had to do some trimming because otherwise I just wouldn't be able to continue, wouldn't be able to grow in the way I want to. And so it's not always about writing more, spending more. Sometimes it is about less. And so I think one of the pieces of advice I wish I'd taken sooner was to take your time, look at the numbers, get a better understanding of the best and most efficient path going forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely experiencing this myself a little bit too. Just, there is this idea that, you grow and or like you can kind of grow indefinitely. And there is even, I think on the fiction side too, this idea that, oh, if you just had the ad money to spend, but, sometimes you spend that money and it doesn't create like a number one number one bestseller on the Amazon charts or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think, the product, the book, like I was planning on doing a bunch of Kickstarters this year. And so I tested one and I was like, I don't think my audience wants all these Kickstarters just
Yeah.
based on early data. So I don't necessarily think I think our instinct is like, oh, we want these numbers to improve, so do more, like you said. And then you realize, like, I'm doing more, but I'm getting the same results. Um, you know, or I'm getting worse results. And it's like, maybe it's not, maybe more just wasn't the answer.
Yeah, there's a question posed in a book that I've been reading, Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. Can you make twice the profit with half the work? And it's a question you can ask yourself, and you have to think about, well, what would I actually do? What innovations would I have to make? Because, you might think impossible until you actually think about it.
Yeah.
So we need to get into the lightning round here, Monica. And we tried to do this. We recorded it in a Panera, and it didn't work. But even though that wasn't the issue is my power going out. But Monica, can you give us a lightning sound to begin our lightning round? Ooh, I like that. That feels to me like, that episode of Grey's Anatomy when they're in the basement and there's like a flood and Richard gets electrocuted, but really the kid from Waterworld is the one who passes. Anyway, spoiler alert for season 12 or whatever in
oh my
that
goodness,
show.
buddy.
So, Monica, you and Russell have created the author ecosystem. Why do you think, obviously going back to our story for today, why do you think, based in the concepts of the author ecosystem, most advice for authors isn't one size fits all?
Oh, I mean, I think the biggest, well, at least for the author ecosystem. So the author ecosystems, it's a tool that basically takes a sales funnel and turns it into 5 archetypes. So I think that the reason for this particular system, like why are there 5? And what we found is there's just these 5 different approaches to marketing and sales that seem to work out well for people, or that and we see like people arguing about them online, even though like they both like those two people are just different archetypes, and the both approaches work. Like you'll see like, oh, you got to go direct, and direct sales is a lot about relationships and fandom and stuff like that. And then there are people who like, you got to go retailers, and retailers are about growth and having lots of readers and having, and your relationship is not as strong with all those readers, but you have a bunch of them. So we see like this retailers versus direct, like debate, I'll say, online. And it really is just 2 approaches and both work. And even like you can have both in your business at the same time working. So I think that's really what that system does, is it just says like, hey, probably one of these 5 approaches is your most organic approach, is like your fallback approach to marketing. And so if you're struggling, like, why not lean in hard to that one? If you're doing really well with your own, why not add one of the other 4 to your business mix, or your marketing mix for your business? And you can do that by like hiring someone. You can do it by creating a product or a service that like fits that style better. So as an example, let's say you're a fiction author, maybe you're doing great at retailer sales, but it's hard to keep people around, or like you want to develop the second level of business and you decide to start a subscription, or you decide to run a Kickstarter, something that's a little bit more fandom based, that requires like fans and super fans, and just requires more hands-on with those people, deeper relationship with those people. And it's like, well, you could do both of those at once. That's one way to grow, or to expand your revenue, expand your sales. And I think that's where we see like, hopefully this tool that we've developed can help you along your path in marketing and sales of your books.
Awesome. Thank you. Good answer there. All right, next lightning round from you to me.
Sorry. How do you think cookie cutter author advice tends to differ from personalized author advice?
So I think that, a lot of people out there say this is the only way to do this thing, and this is, if you do it differently, that is wrong, and that's of course not the case. I think when someone has done something themselves and they want to teach it or they want to share it, they think, well, the way I did it must be the only way because that's the only way I know that has worked. So it's well meaning, but everyone can get different things to work in different ways. I have seen people do Amazon ads differently than me. I've seen people do Facebook ads, and at least there's like 3 different ways that people are doing right now, even in the author community. And I think the personalized advice takes in, is this a good fit for you based on the kind of person you are? It takes into account how much time do you have? Because if you're like, rapid release, well, what if you're a person who gets so much satisfaction out of a launch that putting it off for 9 months, 12 months is actually going to make you feel bad? So I think personalized author advice, whether it's through coaching or through having a convention or wherever you're getting this personalized advice, it takes into account who you are. Cookie cutter advice is really more of a reflection of the person who's giving it than the person who's receiving it.
That's so true. Yes.
It's tough though. It's tough as a teacher to be like, gotta be open to multiple viewpoints. So Monica, Roland asked this, said, I've noticed that authors seem reluctant to spend money on their books, but are often fine spending money on hobbies. Why do you think that is? And how do you think they can shift that mindset?
Gosh. I mean, I think I think I'll just talk about like spending money on books and promoting your books or creating your books or whatever. I mean, it really comes down to 2 things. One is that you love yourself and your stories and like your mission in the world, or at least maybe you don't see your fiction as like a mission in the world, but at least like your why for writing it. And so like loving yourself enough to do that, and when you love something you spend money on it, right? Like if you have a child and you love your child, you're gonna spend money on your child. Like that's just kind of what I don't want to say that's what love is. It's not that love is money, it's that your money flows toward the things you love. That's just kind of a natural human thing. But then I also think the other part of that equation is that you got to love your audience, and so or you like your readers, and so you have to like want to give them a gift, the gift of your work and your writing, whether it's product or service or whatever it is. It's like you have to have both of those. And so I think when people don't spend their money on their books, especially if it's being directed elsewhere, it's like it's like cultivate that love for your books and cultivate that love for yourself. Like you're worth the investment. Your books are worth the investment. Your audience is worth the investment.
Oh, I really like that answer. That was awesome. Next one.
All right. So how has your recent focus on physical health affected your work?
Really focusing on physical health has been so awesome. I mean, I think one of the things was we have this false sense of I'm in pretty good shape. It's like, I bet compared to other people my age, I'm in pretty good shape. And then you like actually work out for a while and you're like, oh my gosh, like my baseline was way lower than I expected. And so as a result, I did not see like at all how low my energy was compared to what it could have been, how low my productivity was compared to what it could have been. Also this like, well, I just don't have time for it. It's like kind of like what you were just saying, Monica. If you love something, it's not just the money that flows to it, but your time flows to it.
Absolutely.
And if you love your energy and you love the idea of being stronger and being more fit, then for whatever purposes, like I'm so glad, like you'll get to this, Monica, because my kid's a couple years older than your
Yes.
oldest.
Yes.
So mine's 7 now, and she doesn't always listen. And sometimes I'm like, well, if I give her a ride, like sometimes I'll do the Bluey thing, train arriving, train leaving, and just like have her go on my back. I could not have done that right now when she is the weight that she is. That I could have done before I started working out. I've gotten stronger to the point that I can like actually like just carry my kid around if I need to,
Right.
without breaking my back and tearing my spine apart. And that, like, sure, all the author stuff, great, having more energy, having more, to put into that, having a better attitude from the endorphins. But really, it comes down to like I can deal with my life with my kid and carry stuff around, and that feels really really good.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, yes. For the people listening, I just had a baby 6 months ago, but absolutely agree with this. I when I think of physical health, it's all for my kids.
Yeah,
It's all for my kids.
yeah. No, it's a good thing to have going. It's a good thing to
Hmm.
have going. Monica, when is it time to consider hiring a VA? Is the last question we'll do today. When is it time to consider hiring a virtual assistant?
And we just hired a bunch of them. I think when you're, I didn't even know the answer to this. I mean, I think when you just aren't going to do something anymore, when you either can't do it or you're just not doing it, and
Yeah.
like you should be doing it, that's probably actually far too late to be
Right?
hiring somebody. But you do what you can. So yeah, and of course when you have the funds to do it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to know, but you're right there with me. I hire at the same point when it's my breaking point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so, Monica, we need a question of the week. Obviously, a lot of stuff has gone around this, you know, the advice and these big questions. I like to defer to the guest on these. Is there any kind of question around this author advice stuff that you would want to ask our audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in favor of just keeping it simple. Like, what mindset shifts have you been working on? What have or have you noticed is coming up for you? Just kind of starting in a simple place of like, hey, are you doing mindset work right now? And
I
it
like
wasn't even part of your conscious world until we
it.
started talking about it today.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are working on this all the time,
Yeah,
even if they haven't equated it with mindset. So,
for
what
sure.
mindset shifts have you been working on here in 2024? You can answer the question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or at sellmorebookshow.com. Monica, I feel bad that we only got to do one episode when we were scheduled for two, but I think we made this double the fun.
This was super fun for me. So
Good.
thank you again for
Good.
having me.
Of course. Where on earth should the peoples go to find you and Russell and all the wonderful work you guys do?
Yes, go to writermba.com. That is our main site. We have a conference coming up in March, and
Woo!
it's open to everybody. It's called the Writer MBA Conference. So come to that conference. And you can find links at, I think it's writermba.com/conference. And then my personal work is at theworldneedsyourpassion.com.
Awesome. Go check those two sites out. Thank you again, Monica. Really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye,
Of
everyone.
course. Yeah, bye everyone. We'll be back. Sell More Book Show will be back next week with another special guest. I've heard around the bend that people have enjoyed these special guests, and so I'm happy to keep delivering. I hope everyone has a great week of book selling, and we'll be back next week for episode 531. Bye.